Okay, so welcome to Successful Searching or Searching Successfully, either one. And thank you for joining us. If I have your email and I have you registered for this class, I will make sure that you get a recording. I saw a couple of people who jumped on to the call and I didn't have them in my list. So I would encourage you just to send me an email asking for the recording if you don't get it in the next week or so. So, is there a difference between a browser and a search engine? There is indeed. Browsers are like software applications that you can install on your computer to retrieve information from websites or web servers. Whereas a search engine is more of it's compromise. It scours the web for information and brings it to the browser, and the browser displays it for you. There are three elements to a search engine: the search algorithm, which is different for each search engine; the crawler, which allows the search engine to go out into the World Wide Web and collect information; and the index, so it brings that information back and creates a library of references so that when you search, it can respond to your search. So, Tim, do you have anything else that you would add to that?
I think you covered it on the next slide, but one of the nice things with using a browser for searching is you can set your search engine preference is the main thing.
Right, exactly.
And just make sure you know how to do that.
Yeah, and I'm going to show you how to do it. I've laid out the sort of the steps for various browsers. But in any case, so there are multiple search engines, but here are the three top ones: Google, DuckDuckGo, and Bing. I encourage you, when you get these slides, to check out this article that I've linked to, because it gives you a very good overview of the variety of the different search engines and what you're looking for. And basically, you can use any of these search engines in any of the browsers that you prefer. So it's a question of which one is the right one for you. So Google is the lion in the search engine market. It's got 88.16% of the market share. And the bottom line, it will probably continue to dominate the market because the algorithm combined with the personalization capabilities make its understanding of what you put into your search bar and your intent superior to other search engines. But that personalization comes at a privacy cost, wouldn't you say, Tim?
100%. And not to plug anything, but we do have a class on online privacy, and we also had a class specifically on how to view the data Google has about you. Mm-hmm. One of the fun things you can do is you can request the data that Google has on you, and it will tell you what it thinks you are. And what I mean by that is if you search on Pinterest and you buy makeup supplies, it'll say, hey, you are a 23-year-old female. And it will kind of show you what categories you have been put in, which is sometimes really interesting to look into. Also, you can delete all that information from Google, but the negative side effect of that is, for example, if you are like me and for whatever reason, 5 years ago, you wanted to search for a bed, kind of to get a new bed, then you get a lot of, instead of, suggestions for dating places or other extraneous stuff that I don't really care about, it'll give me in my ads, and it'll skew my search history towards, or my searches towards trying to find a new bed. The negative side is 5 years later, it still thinks I want, bed and pillow sheets. So I'm not really sure, where the line is, but it is useful because it tries to give you pertinent information based on what you've searched before. The other fun thing is if you ever see anyone complain online about if they search for any sort of political topic and they get like really ridiculous results, that's not because the results are ridiculous. That's because Google is showing them what it thinks they will be interested in. And this leads to another problem where you get into like an echo chamber of if you have a certain political view. I'm using politics because I know you're not supposed to bring that up at any point, but if you are politically leaning one way or the other, you're going to see more results to reaffirm your beliefs.
Exactly.
Which can be dangerous.
Yes. Yeah, definitely a silo. DuckDuckGo is a different breed. It's all about privacy. It requires a little more manual steps to let DuckDuckGo know what you want because they are not basing their algorithm on where you've been before. But if privacy is paramount to you, this is the search engine you might want to consider. Do you have any, you like DuckDuckGo, don't you, Tim?
Yeah, DuckDuckGo is good for kind of unfiltered results. So in the previous thing I just said, where it kind of learns what you're looking for or what it thinks you're looking for and gives you results more skewed towards that. If you kind of want to see what a normal person who Google didn't have all the information on, what they would see, you can use DuckDuckGo and kind of get a fresh search.
Exactly.
I think that makes sense. Like a fresh search where it has no preconceived notions as to what you may or may not be looking for.
Right. So you can step out of your your expectations and see something that you might not have seen on Google. And then the final big player is Bing. And it has a very different approach. It's very visual, and it's basically heavy on news and updates from social media. I haven't used Bing a lot. Tim, have you used Bing?
Yeah, Microsoft spent way too much money coming up with a name for Bing, so I felt that I should try it out. And it's honestly not bad. It is good for images, I find. And it prioritizes different things than Google. I'm so entrenched with the Google ecosystem that using Google to search just makes more sense. But Bing is definitely a very competent search engine.
Great. So as Tim mentioned, you have a browser that you like, you can choose a search engine and marry that to your browser. And
we have a question in the chat on location data. Is it helpful to say where you're located?
I would say so. Because it's giving you information. For example, if you wanted to, one of the options on the tools under the Google search bar is maps. So if you were searching for something and you wanted to find something that was close to you, you could use the location data would be important. So do you have any other thoughts about that?
Yeah, so location data, it's sometimes annoying because every single site under the sun wants your location. And for some things, it doesn't matter. But sometimes it does. So if I'm searching for like restaurants near me, obviously it would want my location data. If I'm searching for a particular item, sometimes it's good to have location data turned on because, for example, if you want to buy something like a washing machine and you're searching and you let it know where you are, then if a Best Buy in Massachusetts has the item, but a Best Buy near you does not, you'll then know that, this washing machine isn't available at this location, but it is available in Massachusetts. So there are a couple of reasons why location's good. But it's also sometimes not great that every website you go to can know roughly the area where you are.
Right.
It can be kind of disconcerting.
So I'm going to go out of the presentation and show you how to change the search engine. This would be on the Chrome browser. So I just open up a new window. I go to the three dots and I go to settings and I scroll down to search engine, and you can see search engine used in this address bar, and I have my options. I can change it to DuckDuckGo. I can change it to Bing, Ecosasia or Ecosa. I don't know. I've never used that, and Yahoo. So you have the option to change the search engine within your browser, which is, I think, sort of interesting. But I will just, and there are ways to do that for each of, I've put them in for if you use Edge or Mozilla or Safari, this is the way that you can make, and I would play with each of these search engines to see which one does what you want it to do, which one is more appealing or brings you the kinds of results that you're more interested in. And so when you do a search, and I'm probably just going to stay right out of this anyway so I can get into, there's a variety of ways of narrowing down your search. Let's just go, let's open up, and I'm using Google, so I'm going to search for apple pie. Now, I have over 1 billion results. That's a lot of results for apple pie. You can see underneath the search bar, I have these ways of filtering the results. Right now, I've got all the results. And on the far right side is the button for tools. The tools change for each set of filters. In this case, for all the results, I can choose the time. I can choose something that was posted on the web in the past hour, past 24 hours, year, or make a custom range. And I can choose all results or verbatim. And these tools will change depending on what kind of results the first set of filters. This one I think is important because we use this a lot at the library when we need to get an image, because it gives us a chance to choose the size of the image, whether it's in color or black and white, the type, clip art, line drawing, or a GIF. And I think this is when it was posted, but this is perhaps the most important because you don't want to use an image that has a license on it. You want to use a Creative Commons license. And so this way I can just select all the images for apple pie that are under Creative Commons, and so that I can use them with acknowledgement. And then again, videos. Shopping has a different set of tools. If you go into shopping, your tools are on the side, and you can reduce the number of hits that you've got based on that. And then you can go back into videos. Again, you've got a different set of tools. If you want a long video, short video, again, when it was posted, the quality, you can get videos that are closed caption, and you can actually select the source of where those videos are. So I would play, each browser has its own set of tools, and it will help you focus your search. And I would just go in and play with them all and see, I think among other things, if you're looking for news, let's see, let's go back to all. And funny, they're not giving me news on apple pie, but other searches would give you news. But just having it limited to the time period is very, very helpful. Tim, do you have anything you want to add as far as the tools go?
Well, I mean, specifically for recipes, Google is wonderful. If you've ever been in the kitchen and wanted someone to tell you the ingredients list because you just really don't have a piece of paper on the countertop that you're going to get all sticky, and you're accidentally going to put a lot of flour on it and egg, so it becomes unusable. You can get like a Google, one of the Google Home devices, and then you can say, "Hey Google," oh, I need to turn off my phone before I say this. You can say like, "Hey Google, find me a recipe for apple pie," and then you can say, "Hey Google, what are the ingredients?" And then, "Hey Google, how long am I baking this for?" And it will just tell you the answer. So it's kind of nice in that respect. Oh, I forgot one of my Google devices is now telling me how to make apple pie.
Okay, but I would go back. Each search engine does have its own sort of set of tools, and you can play with them depending on how you've filtered your search results. Then Boolean expressions are not the most popular anymore, but there is one that I think is worth it. Sorry, went the wrong way. And that is using the site colon and then the site URL and then a keyword, because it allows you to search the site with the search engine tools. Now, so for example, if I open this up and I go, let's see, site, Reddit, Fauci. And one thing to be careful is do not put a space between the colon and this site address. And then I just go ahead and click that. It's bringing me all of my results come from reddit.com. But there's still over 300,000. So in this case, I can choose news and I can use the tools and I can say, in the past 24 hours, what did he say in the past 24 hours? And now I have still a fair amount of responses, but much, much reduced. How do you, Tim, you in computer studies, you spent a lot of time with Boolean expressions, and people aren't using them as much anymore, are they?
Yeah, so as search engines have evolved, Boolean expressions have become less needed / less useful, because once again, if you use Google, it kind of learns what you're looking for. One of the ones that I really, really like, besides the searching a specific site like Mary just showed, is if you're writing a paper, because clearly everyone here is going to do a term paper in the next year, you can do site:/edu and then do your search, and then it will only give you results for edu sites. So like if you're looking, because clearly I look at Harvard's site all the time, but if you're looking at something from like a university, kind of, so it's what one could assume would be like a more thoroughly tested result or search, you can just search edu sites for a term.
Okay.
But Boolean expressions like and, or aren't extremely useful anymore. The one I would add is if you put something in quotations, it has to have that exact phrase that's in quotations. Sometimes you'll get fun things, like if you search Puma, like just straight up, you just search Puma, not using, well, you also have site:/edu, which doesn't work great. Okay. But if you just delete all that and search Puma.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And you go to all. We're going to be seeing a lot of ads for Puma, the shoe company, and clothing apparel, menswear, women's wear, exercise, you know, whatever they're dipping their fingers into these days. But if you search Puma and you press and you do minus shoe, no space after the minus, it will only give you results that don't have shoe in it. So there will be certain situations like this where you're searching for the animal, and you can always search Puma space animal and you'll get those results. But you can also negatively kind of filter out things by just hitting the minus button. And then with the quotations, if you're looking for a specific quotation, or if you're looking for a specific term that's like technical, sometimes it'll be really, really useful to put that in quotations so those words don't get mixed up into other research results.
Exactly. Thanks, Tim. So then the other possibility is if you have, so say you find a web page that you like, but there's a lot of information on it, and you can actually just search the page, and that's sort of a fun thing. So this is a Wikipedia article on William Shakespeare, and it goes on and on and on. And I'm not interested in reading the whole thing. I'm interested in finding out about Robert Greene, who attacked William Shakespeare in a newspaper. And one of the easiest ways to do that is Control Find, and then it's giving me, so this is one instance, you can see it's highlighted, of Robert Greene. Now, if I just did Robert, I've got 5 different instances, and I can just scroll through them using the arrows. But this is Robert Armin and Robert Chester. But in any case, it's really, really helpful if you have a long article, a web page, and you want to find specific information on it, just to use the Control Find or Command Find, depending on whether you're in Mac or Windows. And then we get to searching privately. And there is DuckDuckGo, but you can also go into incognito mode on any search browser. And why would you search privately? So the incognito mode won't save cache cookies or history of sites you visited. It still will be logged, but it isn't saved locally on your machine. So why would this be important? Well, one of the primary uses I know people use it for is to search for airfares, so they aren't triggering the airline knowing that you're interested in the airfare, and the airfare starts to increase. Also, if you're searching for someone's birthday present and you're looking at various possibilities, you will, if you're in Google, have ads along the side that reflect those possibilities, and that could alert someone to a possible birthday present. And just sensitive searches that you don't necessarily want to have stored in your search history. What would you use searching for? Is there anything else that I'm not thinking of, Tim?
Well, I think we all know what people use private search for, but the main reason that someone would use private search is just to not have it added to their other searches. And that can be for any reason. Mary pointed out a couple really good ones. I also like it for just, it doesn't mess up my other search criteria, because I've spent years making Google believe that I care about technology stuff. So if I spontaneously start searching for beds again, I'm going to use private search, so it stops adding those recommendations to my to my ads and all that fun
Okay.
stuff. One of the things I like to, wax poetic on, and by wax poetic, I mean completely almost verbatim repeat an article I read 10 years ago, was Target had an interesting snafu with how they kind of handled their search data and their usage data. So Target used to send out news flyers or like those little pamphlets to everyone to kind of, give them information on stuff that they think they might be interested in buying. And one of the fun things was if you had like a Target card, so Target knew information about you, and you were female, Target would often know that you were pregnant before you did. Because based on buying habits, subconsciously or not subconsciously, you'll change what you buy, the quantity you buy, the type of things you buy, the time at which you buy it. I don't really know. It's all gibberish to me. But they had to actually turn that off because a lot of people were feeling like Target was invading their privacy by knowing all this information about them, or from all the information they knew about them, they knew that they had a high probability of being pregnant. So you can use a privacy search to not have that tracked. And I do want to point out, Mary glanced on this, but anything you search for using an incognito browser is tracked by your internet provider, unless you use something like a VPN. So Comcast will always know what you're searching for. Fairpoint will always know what you're searching for. It's just if your local machine remembers what you were searching for.
Exactly. And Tim, when would you use DuckDuckGo versus incognito? I mean,
they're relatively similar.
Okay.
Basically, you would use incognito search for if you also didn't want the browser to know what you were doing, because DuckDuckGo itself won't remember what you did, but the browser you're using will. So if you're signed into Google on your browser and you use DuckDuckGo, Google will still know what you searched.
What you're searching. Okay.
So we have a couple questions.
Sure.
On some occasions, I have not been able to open some EDU sites with Google, but can open them with Firefox. What is the reason for this? There is zero good reason for this. Mary, do you have an idea?
I've never had that experience, so I can't speak to it.
So one thing I will say is Google occasionally strong arms websites to comply with their standards because they are the largest thing available. They can do that for better or worse. And Firefox tends to be a little bit more open with what it will accept as a browser. I know that's not a great answer, but that's the one I have. The next question was, just needed my grandmother who always knew pregnancy was happening. Yep. I think Target hired a lot of grandmothers to figure out who to sell diapers to. That's right. Next question was, how do you access the private search option?
Oh, I go back up. So, oops, sorry, down one. Oh, I thought I had it. Okay, no, sorry, it's right there. Searching privately. So depending if you're in Safari, Chrome, or Edge, it's Control-Shift-N for Windows or Command-Shift-N for Mac. If you're in Firefox, it's Control-Shift-P for Windows and Command-Shift-P. So for example, if I open up this browser and I want to go incognito, all I do is Control-Shift-N, and now I'm in the cognito browser, and I can search for whatever I want to search for. So, and then I will just get out of that and go back to, are there any more questions at this point, Tim?
Nope, the last two were on private search.
Okay.
So
yeah, so these are all here, and you'll be getting a copy, not only a recording, but you'll also be getting a copy of these slides, so you'll be able, you'll have it. And then we wanted to show you a couple of special searches. The reverse image search which is sort of fun. And I'm going to, so the way to get to it is images.google.com. And then you can see you've got this little camera in the search bar. You can search by image. You can either, if you have a URL, if you found the image online and you have a URL for the image, you can do that. Or you can just, if you've collected something and you want to learn more about it, you can just upload the image. All you do is choose your file, and I'm going to click that. What is this? And it will upload the image. And sometimes it takes a little longer than others. But it will come. Well, it is taking its time, is it not? Okay, well, while we're doing that, I will also show you this, the Wayback Machine, which is on archive.org, and I'm going to show that to you. It's, why would you use this? I know of a few reasons that I would use it, and I'll be interested to see what Tim would say, but here's the Wayback Machine. So I'm going to put in peterboroughtownlibrary.org, and here's what it's going to give me. Okay. So if, for example, I wanted to see what was happening in 2014 on our website, I could just click on that, and it will bring, these are all the times that an image has been taken of the website. So let's find out what was happening on April 22nd, 2014. And I click on the snapshot. Now, there we go. Okay, so this is very different from the website that we have now, but this was what was available in 2014. And here are the articles welcoming our new director, Corinne Chronopoulos. So you could use this historically. I've also known people who, for example, a website is down and they want a recipe or something from that website. They can go to a cached copy of it and get it that way. Tim, how would you use the Wayback Machine?
Yeah, I mean, the Wayback Machine is incredibly useful kind of for seeing older information that may or may not have been deleted. For example, this article for Meet the New Library Director, probably you can't get to it anymore on the current website.
Absolutely.
So if you have something you know was on an older version of the website, it's great. It's also really good if you're trying to do research and somebody may or may not have posted an article and then tried to delete it. You can use the Wayback Machine and go find it before it's posted. You'll often find that for like journalists will use this in that functionality. And it's also just fun to play around and just see how things have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to look at the old web page for the library is sort of fun. So let's go back and see if I can get to, if my river, oops, I can't get to that. Hold on a second. Okay, so finally it loaded the image that I loaded. What is this? And it's telling me that it's coriander, and there are all these articles about coriander versus cilantro. What's the difference? Various images. So that's one of the benefits of the reverse image search. It can be, if you have something that you want to learn more about, it's sort of a fun way of learning about it by just uploading the image and allowing the search engine to search based on the image, and they're matching information that they have indexed. Yes, so that's sort of anything more. How would you use the reverse search?
Yeah, so it's often useful. I mean, would I try, like, truly test this in a life or death situation? Probably not, but you can always take a picture of a plant and put it on Google image search using your phone, and you can see if it's edible or not, which is one fun thing I've seen. If you also are into bird watching, if you get a good crisp picture of the bird, you can search for it and find the name. However, if you're into birds, apparently Cornell has a really good site for you to determine what species it is. But image search, in the usage I've seen of it, is one to combat some truly horrific things that happen online.
Oh, right. You mentioned that. We were talking about that today.
Yeah. So I guess you can use your own imagination on that. But it's a great tool for artists. So if you're an artist or you know an artist and they post something online, sometimes it can be nice to do a reverse image search on what you posted, just to make sure the design or the artwork hasn't been stolen and is being used on another site. So you can often kind of search that and find if someone has been stealing your designs or your artwork. The other thing, you can do that coupled with the Wayback Machine. If you determine that you need to learn, the time period at which the artwork was up, you can use the Wayback Machine to kind of go back in time and see, okay, well, it was posted 4 years ago, so they've been potentially profiting off of my IP, my intellectual property, for the past 4 years. And then you can go to small claims court or real court, depending on the severity of the infraction. One of the questions was, any tips for researching newspaper articles?
Well, in fact, we have some databases that I'm now going to show you on our website. If you're looking for local newspapers, we now have them digitized, and so that you can click on any of these and search, and they're searchable online. The Monadnock Ledger transcript is now 2018. And I also wanted to show you, EBSCOhost has some really phenomenal databases that are available to you, including Consumer Reports. But right now we're just looking at Master File Premier, which has about 1,700 periodicals covering subjects of general interest. A lot of these databases are academic as opposed to general interest, but this one does cover general interest. So you just sign in with your library ID, and then you are in the EBSCO database, and you can start to search. I would encourage, the advanced search is often much easier, but then you just fill this in. You can select whether it's author, title. You also don't have to search. This is your Boolean and, or not. That's the minus sign that Tim was talking about. So you can add all of the terms, and then you have other ways of limiting your search down here. And I would encourage, one of the things that you can choose the publication type. I would also encourage you to choose full text, so you're not just getting an abstract of the article. And there's a lot here just to play around with. as far as newspapers, what we could do, again, we're going back to this slide, specialized databases. You can search, you can use your search engine to find specialized databases. So let's see what we do with newspapers. Okay, so newspapers.com, historical newspapers through 2000. That may not, if you're looking for something more more newer, then I would use the search toolbars. Like, okay, let's go back to Fauci, and I would click on news, and then you're going to have a variety there. The latest news coming from Washington Post or CNN or New York Times. You will probably have a paywall, unfortunately, for many of these sites. That it's going to be a problem, but this would be one way of doing it. Tim, do you have any other suggestions?
I mean, you can go and just click on news articles. If you're looking specifically for like a New York Times or a CNN article, you can always just add in CNN or New York Times, and it will kind of intelligently try and figure it out.
Right.
Yeah. And there was one other question in the chat that I accidentally skipped over. And is there a reverse image search other than on Google?
I have not, because I use, let's go to Firefox.
Yeah, I mean, so everyone's so used to Google. I mean, it is over 88% of the market share. It probably has arguably the best reverse image search, but there are two others that I've used for good success. The first one is using Bing. Bing was originally created as a reverse image lookup tool, so it has a pretty good set of features on that. I've linked it in the chat. You just go to bing.com/visual search. Okay. And the other option that I like is TinEye. Right. I believe TinEye is kind of more geared towards, is better for like people's faces, which is useful. But yeah, Bing, Visual Search, and TinEye are also decent alternatives. And they will often give different results. So if you are an artist and you want to make sure your artwork isn't being used by people other than you, just throw it in all three. And just that way you'll get, kind of peace of mind that if these three didn't find it, you're probably safe.
Yeah, and I had forgotten about TinEye. Yes, it's really good. I would encourage you to use one of these search engines to find the database that you want. I was somewhat amused with rhyming database. So, and it gives me various ways, various databases for rhyming. So if I'm writing a poem, I can just like what rhymes with cake, and it will give me all the words. There are numerous unique databases that you can use and search that database. And sometimes it's easier just to find the database and go straight to it than do, have 300,000 hits on Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo. So let's see, I think that's it. So anybody have any questions?
So the question is, when I search for a special recipe, I get too many results. How do I narrow that down?
So I think the more elements that you put in, so that's apple pie recipe will give me quite a few to choose from. But if I want Julia Child's apple pie recipe, that reduces it a little bit. Do you have ingredients? I know that if you add ingredients like lard, that will reduce your results as well. Do you have any other suggestions, Tim?
I mean, that's pretty much all I'd say is I would definitely always start your search from the most general search term you're comfortable with and go from there. So first search for apple pie. If you get 10,000 results, that's too many. Turns out you like using lard, add lard in there. If you like using a specific apple, like Red Delicious or Fuji, you can always add the specific type of apple. So you just kind of keep adding search terms until it gets to a manageable size. Right. And you can go from there.
Exactly. And you also have the tools. So for example, if I want, I don't know that this would affect your results in recipes, but other things it might be that the past month, if I'm looking for tech information, I am definitely looking for the most recent information, the freshest. So that would be another way of limiting your search. So
I wanted to ask something.
Yeah, please.
Like when, on the example you were just giving to narrow down the apple pie recipe search, and you kept adding words. Does that run the risk of broadening it if the search engine picks up on one of those words you're adding and goes in a different direction?
Yeah, and that's a great point. So one of the things I would say to that is, so we know we're searching for apple pie. So we'll put apple pie in quotes or apple pie recipe in quotes. That way it doesn't take all of these ingredients we're adding and, figure out that we want a really exotic type of pizza, so it doesn't get confused in that manner. So just make sure you put the most important section of it in quotes. That way it knows two things. One, it will not break up those words in the search result. And two, that specific phrase has to be present in the search results. So you can always just put one specific word in quotes if that's the most important word and go from there.
Great, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and you got the email about the coming up tech classes, but I also want to remind you that Tim is available on Wednesdays for tech drop-in from 12 to 1. And if you go to our website, I'll just show you where it is right now. Go to events, click on online tech help, and the Zoom link is right there. We encourage you, if you are joining us, if you want to join with the device that you have a question about, because then it's much easier to sort of troubleshoot. So, and next month, we're going to do iCloud, and Tim is doing browser extensions. So there's lots to learn. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.